The coroner called it accidental drowning. The police closed the investigation. The city moved on. But Elisa Lam was found inside a water tank on the roof of a building she should not have been able to access unsupervised. And nobody, not the police, not the coroner, not the hotel, ever reconstructed the sequence that put her there. The case is officially solved. The path from the elevator to the water tank is not. The Cecil Hotel was built in 1927 in downtown Los Angeles. It opened as a destination. It became something else. By the 1980s, the Cecil sat on the edge of Skid Row. Its guests were transient. Its reputation was dark. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stayed there during his killing spree in 1985. Jack Unterweger, an Austrian serial killer, stayed there in 1991. Multiple people died in the building over the decades. Some jumped, some were found in rooms. The Cecil was not a place that tracked its guests closely. That is not atmosphere. That is the answer to a specific question. How does a 21-year-old tourist go missing for 19 days without anyone in the building raising an alarm? Because the Cecil was a building where people disappeared as a matter of routine. On February 13, 2013, while Lam was still missing, the LAPD released elevator surveillance footage and asked the public for help. The footage shows Lam stepping into the elevator, pressing multiple floor buttons, stepping out, stepping back in, leaning out to look down the hallway, and at one point appearing to gesture or speak to someone outside the frame. She then walks away. The elevator door stays open. It stays open for over 2 minutes. That detail alone launched a wave of paranormal speculation. But there are mundane explanations: a held button, a sensor fault, a mechanical delay. The problem is that the LAPD never confirmed which one applied. The footage itself was also altered before release. The timestamp was obscured. The frame rate appears inconsistent. A section may have been removed or slowed. The department never explained why. So the single most watched piece of evidence in this case is a recording that shows distress but not its cause, captured by a system that was then edited without explanation. The footage made the case famous. It did not make the case clearer. After the footage ends, the case becomes a question of architecture. The rooftop of the Cecil Hotel was not a public area. The door to the roof was fitted with an alarm that should have sounded if opened. Beyond the door, the water tanks sat on an elevated platform accessible by ladder. To reach the inside of a tank, a person would need to climb that ladder and either open a heavy hatch or find it already open. When Lam's body was discovered, the hatch was reported open, though early reports described it as closed. That discrepancy took years to clarify. The alarm has no record of triggering that night. Alternative routes existed: a fire escape, a maintenance access, but none were confirmed as the one she used. Each failure point is individually plausible. Alarms get disabled for maintenance. Doors get propped. Hatches get left open. But the investigation never identified which specific combination of failures allowed the access. The route was never mapped. The chain was never tested. It was simply accepted that she reached the roof because she was found there. The coroner's report was released months later. No evidence of physical trauma, no evidence of sexual assault, no drugs or alcohol beyond her prescribed medications. Elisa Lam had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Her toxicology showed sub-therapeutic levels of her medication. She had either stopped taking it regularly or had missed doses. The ruling was accidental drowning with bipolar disorder as a significant contributing condition. That ruling is medically defensible. During a manic or mixed episode, bipolar disorder can produce disorientation, impulsivity, paranoia, and risk-taking behavior. The elevator footage is consistent with that kind of episode. But a medical explanation for behavior is not a physical reconstruction of movement. The coroner explained why she might have acted erratically. The coroner did not explain how she bypassed an alarm, climbed a ladder, and entered a water tank. Those are different questions. Only one was answered. So the case remains technically solved and structurally incomplete. Most people accept the drowning ruling. Most people accept that bipolar disorder played a role. That is not where the tension lives. The tension lives in the middle of the story. The elevator footage is the beginning. The water tank is the end. Everything between those 2 points, the hallway, the stairs, the roof, the alarm, the ladder, the hatch, was never documented. The Cecil Hotel has since been rebranded. The building still stands. The water tanks were eventually replaced. But the gap in the sequence was never closed. A cause of death tells you what happened. A reconstruction tells you how. In the case of Elisa Lam, only one of those was ever completed.